Good morning and welcome back to another video, and today is a noob's guide to world boss camping. Let's go! Okay, so world boss. Why spawn camp in world bosses in particular? Now, some world bosses actually sell for a lot of gold when they're actually killed. They drop a load of transmog which can be sold on the auction house. Now, these vary in price depending on what world bosses you kill. It usually is the Burning Crusade world bosses that sell for the most in transmog. Now, these can be found all dotted around each different zone for each different expansion, and they are relatively easy to do. Now, spawn camping is a very simple method. You basically get an ult that is able to kill one of these world bosses, and in this day and age you are able to kill most world bosses if you so wish. Now, I would recommend that you just park them wherever the world bosses actually spawn, and you would be able to take them out fairly easily. Now, the most notable world boss from the Burning Crusade is Doom Lord Kazik, and he is found at the throne of Kil'jaeden in Hellfire Peninsula. Now, this guy drops a load of things like the Hope Ender, which is a really good transmog item in order to sell on the auction house. There are multiple other ones that you can find dotted all around Outland and pretty much in each and every zone. Now, I would recommend that if you do this, you just bring a character like level 80 or above, and you could probably kill them rather easily. This wouldn't take that long, as you can just park your ults at the spawn point for Doom Lord Kazik, for instance, and just park them there, and then every 4 to 6 hours, or when you have time, just log on and see if he's up. If he's up, he'll reward you with a load of different types of transmog, and then you can sell those on the auction house. One little side note I would recommend is make sure all of your characters are in the same guild, preferably one of the guild that you own and you have permissions for. This will help you greatly, as once you have actually got those transmog items, you don't have to fly to a mailbox. You can open up your guild banking and just post them in there, which then your banker will be able to retrieve and then post out without actually leaving the spawn location, so you will not have to do the back and forth. This will save you a decent amount of time in order to actually farm up again more mobs. Now, these different types of add-ons that I would actually do for this is Mpc Scan and Mpc Scan Overlay. These will show where all of the world bosses or rare elites actually spawn, and you'll be able to take them out relatively easily once you actually know their spawn location. This will save you a lot of time instead of just looking it up on Wowhead, and to be honest, I find this to be rather helpful. Now, there is one other one that I would recommend, and that is Silver Dragon. This add-on is rather helpful when it actually comes to farming up rare elites or even the world bosses, and does much of the same things as Mpc Scan Overlay. This is relatively helpful, and I find this to be a great deal, just combining all three of them together to make the perfect farming add-on mixture. Now, the question being, what world bosses should I farm? Now, there are also multiple different types of world bosses that you can actually farm up, and there are a few that you can actually take on quite easily. In Outland, for instance, you have Doom Lord Kazik in Hellfire Peninsula, and you also have the Doom Walker, which is outside the Black Temple in Outland in Shadowmoon Valley. Now, moving over to your Cataclysm ones, you're going to be farming up Gar, which is located in Mount Hyjal, and he is right outside of the back part of the Sulfuron Spire. Now, you can obviously look this up on the add-ons once you have downloaded them, but I thought I'd give you a couple of examples just for a bit of help. The Gar is rather easy to actually farm up, as he is the least camped I find, by personal opinion. Gar actually drops a decent amount of bits of transmog, and also has a chance of all of the Cataclysm bosses of dropping the recipe for the High Society top hat and the rhinestone sunglasses. This will actually provide you with a decent amount of gold if it drops for you. Just be prepared that you need to have a tailor or a jewel crafter when farming these guys, as of a chance for getting these patterns. Now, obviously you're not going to be able to get these patterns just out of the bat, because they're exceedingly rare to drop. These are only a one-off thing, but it's nice to have your back covered just in case you have a chance of getting those recipes. But they aren't what you're going to be farming for in the Cataclysm farms, as you'll be farming up the transmog that actually drops from those bosses. Now, other ones for Cataclysm is such as Mobius, which is in Vashir, and he basically goes around in a massive circle once he has spawned, and he goes near that massive whirlpool that connects all of the different zones of Vashir together. Now, there is another one which is in there, and that is Perseus. Perseus is probably one of the ones that is the most camped, but it has a decent payoff by not actually providing you with a piece of transmog, but a mount. It provides you with the subdued seahorse, which can be farmed up from Perseus, and obviously it is at 100% drop chance. And Perseus obviously spawns around about 4 to 6 hours, and this goes for most Cataclysm bosses. Now, I would recommend actually farming up this one, because once it actually drops, you, depending on your realm, you can either sell it from around about 10,000 gold to around about 30,000 gold. I remember a time when you could actually sell it for near on gold cap, but that time has now passed. So for Mr. Pandaria, you really can't get all that much, because most of these either drop mounts, so we actually focus on the Warbringers. The Warbringers have a chance of dropping loads of cool bits of transmog, and they are not particularly world bosses, but they are some rare elites that take a long time to spawn. These guys, opposed to the actual proper world bosses, actually drop transmog, which are then BOE, which you can sell on the auction house. The world bosses that you actually farm up in Mr. Pandaria, like Nalak, have a chance of dropping different types of mounts, but they have the chance of also dropping some soulbound gear, which you can use transmog for yourself, but I wouldn't recommend it, because this channel is mainly about making gold, and obviously if it's soulbound you can't really do much with that. Now, if you do want to actually farm up the Warbringers, they drop either a load of materials, or also they can drop you some decent amounts of transmog, and along with that have a chance of giving you a mount. Just be careful on some realms, like highly populated ones, they're usually camped quite hard. I would recommend that if you're going to actually farm this up, I would go on a low end realm and farm them up there. This is when I've had the best amount of luck of farming the mounts. But for farming the transmog, you're just going to have to stick through it, or I would recommend just going back to Outland and farming the transmog there. That being the case, guys, world bosses, are they worth it? Yes, I would recommend Outland. Outland only has 2 world bosses, but I would highly recommend actually farming these guys up, because I find them to be absolutely cool as hell to actually farm up, because I can just log in the morning, if they're up, I nuke them, and then I gain a load of high-end bits of transmog, which I can then sell on the auction house for a decent profit. Now, that being the case, guys, tell me what you think in the comments below about world bosses and gold farming. Is it really worth actually logging in 2 minutes every day and seeing if they're up? That being the case, guys, now I hope you like this video, and if you want to see more like this, please feel free to give this video a like, and as always, have an awesome day, guys.
Yeah.